So someone recently asked me about my meditation practice. Do I have any recommendations? And while I feel very honored that someone would ask me that, let me just say right off the bat, there are a bazillion other more qualified people to speak about meditation than myself. I mean, if you're here watching this channel, first of all, how did you stumble on this little thing? and you're already meditating. So, but anyway, I'm happy to offer my thoughts and opinions on meditation practice, and that's exactly what they are, my own opinions. Yes, more qualified people out there. So, and also my next disclaimer is, excuse me, I am a self-proclaimed terrible meditator. I'm much better now. I really enjoy it now, and I'm much more committed. But in the beginning, I was not disciplined. I really hated it. I couldn't focus. I couldn't sit for very long, impatient, all the things. And the mind never shuts up. In fact, the mind still doesn't shut up. All the complaints that you have, I had as well. And was terrible. And, I also never had any attachment to any lineage. So I never had any teaching, no set practices. I guess, winged it. And despite all that, I ended up somewhere in a good place. Some evolution has occurred. So my point in saying all this is, as bad as you think you are, and you're not, and don't worry, you don't need to be perfect. I know what I had going for me was in approaching my meditation, were this feeling of sincerity, humility, and this inner longing for union. I didn't know what I was doing, but I gave it my all. I did my best. And sure, I got pissed off and angry and impatient, but I kept trying. So I think those are the best three ways to enter into meditation. Let me see. So I made some notes for my opinions here. And also, and I know this is very hard. If you're just starting on a meditation journey, it's very, very difficult to not come into meditation with expectations like, oh, okay, I'm going to have an experience. But having expectations like that, I need to have an experience, is what will block everything. Expectations and projections, and that you have to be perfect, will block everything. So, I'm just having a hard time getting my words out, as usual. So along with sincerity, humility, and this longing for union, I think we have to come in with the feeling of not expectations, but the attitude of, oh, I'm going to receive, like just being open to receive. Let the universe kind of guide you in the meditation rather than you, this individual ego, coming into meditation going, okay, I'm going to do my practice here and I'm going to get something. I'm going to get it. And just that feeling alone, which is feelings of separation. It's the individual person there coming into a meditation, and it's already separated itself from the union. And so just try to, release all of that and just go in with humility, longing for union, and just open to receive. Those are my three main suggestions. Now, as far as practices, particular lineages have very strict regimens of how to meditate. And I think that those are, while they don't resonate with me, never have, I've never been disciplined enough. I think that they're perfectly acceptable for certain types of ego personality minds. They really like the rules and the discipline and certain practices, and that's what the mind needs to settle down to get trained. And I think some kind of guided meditation practice in the beginning is very, very good to train the mind. Yeah, but not necessary, right? You can wing it like I did. But yeah, some personalities like that. And if you like that, then I say, hey, go for it. Find, TM, there's Kriya yoga. There's so many yogic practices, you'll find them. The only thing I would say about those particular practices that are very detailed, you have to sit this way, do this, whatever, is that the ego can then take hold of that and make the practice itself, the system, holier than the idea of what the practice is for, is becoming one or unified, right? Letting go of all those practices. And it can also, the ego can go grab onto those, like, my system's better than yours. And it creates just a whole construct around that system, and it takes you further away from union. Okay, what else? Yeah, it can give you the superior attitude. Yeah, and I do recommend, if you are looking for a little bit of guided meditation, the teacher that I found, I worked with and followed, Jan Esman, and I'll put a link. He has a link to some free meditations. They're very simple Kundalini Kriya meditations and pranayama meditations. They're very simple. He has them in different languages, and you can download them, and I'll put a link. They're very lovely, easy guided meditations, and they're great. They really settle you down. They train the mind, and it's excellent, easy to do, and a nice short time limit. Okay. Very helpful. As for techniques, I do recommend just what I talked about in the previous video, the sacred secretion, using your eyes and focusing in the third eye area, because that really stimulates the pineal and the pituitary glands, which stimulates that whole cerebral spinal fluid, your central nervous system. It's called the Christ oil, and it stimulates the opening of your inner eye, and it takes your vision further out beyond this reality. And I recommend, while focusing in this third eye area, also having a split focus of focusing in the navel area. So you're having a split focus, and the split focus is to keep you embodied so that you can feel the sensations while your vision is opening up, while thine eye is becoming single. And you have this split focus right behind the navel, and you just focus on this small little breathing. Yeah, small little breath at the belly behind the navel, and looking in the third eye area, and man, that will activate things very, very quickly. There's not a lot of effort, a little effort to hold your eyes there, and then within a very short time, your vision becomes one, and then off you go. Okay, so that's the one technique I highly recommend, is that split focus, focusing behind the navel and the third eye at the same time in the beginning of your practice, or after you've done whatever your guided thing. And that will really help settle everything down. It stimulates those two glands. It helps, wow, everything. What else? Yeah, there are some things about meditation. I think there's, like, I've come to notice like 3 different stages of meditation. And we can use like an airplane metaphor. And like the first stage is what, the pre-flight or the boarding. And this is all the efforting, right? And it takes, like, still for me, not that I'm exalted in meditation by any means, but it still takes at least 10 to 20 minutes for the mind to settle down. And this is all the pre-flight boarding stuff, efforting, watching your breath, watching the mind, doing your eye focusing, and it's a lot of effort. Okay. So the first stage of meditation is kind of ornery and, you got to hang on for dear life, right? If you can make it through the first 15, 20 minutes, then it gets a whole lot easier. And just remember, it takes that long, at least 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes for the mind to settle down. You're not doing anything wrong. That is just typical. And then the next stage of a meditation that I've discovered for myself is the takeoff stage. You know, when you take off and you're like, oh gosh, that feels so good. And you begin, you're like in the zone, the mind is quieted down a little bit, and then you start feeling all these wonderful sensations. And that, to me, what I intuitively feel is all of the pranic channels beginning to open up, and they're balancing out, and you feel all this wonderful energy, right? It's like that G force, and it feels so good. But there's more. There's a third stage, right? And that's a really beautiful stage to be in. You're feeling all that energy flow, and that stage is really a good time to really feel your body. This is to train you to feel through your senses. So feel what's going on and just let everything go, tension in your body, and you can feel the waves of consciousness and energy just flowing around you. You can maybe feel tension in one area, and it's beautiful. Okay. But then after that, the third stage, if you could hang in after this feel good, hang in a little bit longer, is the cruise. And that's when all that kind of energy, movement, balancing you out, settles down. And man, you hit, and maybe you need to refocus your eyes, and all of these kind of there's efforting in between stages, and they all come at different times. But so you may have to refocus your inner eye, third eye, and you come back down, and then suddenly you start feeling it. You feel like everything's slowing down, and you hit like this still point. It is the most blissful, unbelievable point you'll ever reach. All movement stops. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like what I long for in every meditation. And I have to say, my last couple of meditations have been shite. Haven't been able to get really past the second stage of takeoff. But if you can hang in there and find that, and let that still point find you, you know, this is bliss. This is when suddenly, you know, the movement stops. Maybe your breath begins to slow. Maybe it even stops, or your inhale becomes extremely long and your exhale is very short. And all of a sudden you're like floating in space with the stars. And this is when all the different levels of samadhi come in. And you start noticing, oh, I have a body, but I don't have a body. This is bodiless body. There's a me and there's a not me. This is egoless ego. And then there's sexless sex, where suddenly you feel the tingling and the expansion in your base area, and it feels sexual, but it's not sex, right? That's sexless sex. That's kundalini. That's it. Almost feels like rocket ships are going to lift you up, like you're going to lift up. So it's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous place to be. And that, yeah, it's like the mind goes to sleep, but you're still awake. These are different levels of samadhi, and it's absolutely beautiful. And look, if you can hang in past the feel-good stage, past the takeoff stage, and find that still point, even if it's just for 30 seconds or a minute. I mean, you lose all time, so you don't really know how long you are in each stage, but in this stage in particular, even if it's for 30 seconds, the effects of being in that place will affect you, will never leave you, and will it grows each time, each meditation, right? It never goes away. Once you feel it, you'll never forget it, and it will just build with your next meditation, your next meditation. So don't think that the feel good stage, that G4 stage is where meditation is at. It's after that. It's after everything settles down. Movement, it's unbelievable. I can't describe it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on meditation. Now, as far as how I meditate now, and maybe even if you're beginning, if you could do this, I kind of recommend no particular stringent practice or guided meditation. If you could just simply sit down, and the one thing I do have to say for sure is, if you can sit with your spine straight and not being aided by a wall or pillows. Like a little pillow is fine, but really to have this open back area and a straight spine sitting up is the best. It doesn't matter what your legs are doing, you just have to be comfortable, but having the ability for your spine to have some movement on its own. Anyway, and also when you reach that still point, or you're getting close to, here's some a sign that you're getting close to the still point. Everything starts slowing down, and then suddenly your spine will start being pulled up, and that's your Brahmic cord, or the silver cord, or the divine thread. It's being pulled up even straighter. It's Kundalini awakening coming online, I guess. It's the pituitary pineal gland activating your spinal fluid. You're getting straighter and straighter. Yeah, so that's a sign you're about ready to hit the still point. Anyway, so I totally just now recommend totally relaxing, of course, breathing in the belly and letting go of every ounce of tension in your body. Like every cell of your being is letting go, and like you're merging into the space around your physical body, letting go, like letting go of your resistance to oneness, letting go of this separate self. And you can let go of your body, but here comes the crow, recommend focusing on letting go of the facial area, the head, and opening up the crown, and letting the mind melt away, float away, ooze out whatever visualization that really, really helps in opening things up. And then just letting the universe meditate you with no expectations. And I offer a prayer, some kind of prayer, like my intention, I offer myself to Kundalini Shakti, Divine Mother. I sacrifice all of my ego desires, attachments. I sacrifice everything to you. Please make me a vessel of your truth, peace, and love. With sincerity, you can offer a prayer, and then you just open yourself up to her, to the universe, and let the universe meditate you. I think that, and of course, just be in a state of receiving. That's, for me, the best way to meditate. Yeah. And of course, focusing on the third eye a little bit of efforting at first is necessary, but come in with that heartfelt intention, a little prayer for union, and then relax, let go of all your resistance to oneness. Stop clinging to the separate self. And, the universe knows how to meditate you much better than you know how to meditate the universe. Okay, those are my thoughts on meditation. I hope I didn't speak too long, and that 2 minutes and 51 seconds into the video, you didn't click out. But of course, if you're still listening to this, you stayed. So thank you very much. Until next time.